No, you reform. You try to reform. Always try to fight. Don't, because we can't. That's the problem too. Is like white people. White people. We can't just. Really, white people should speak up against this, because right now in America, white people are the number one people who are discriminated against. It's not the black people. Yep. We are now systemically. Isn't it ironic? We are systemically racist towards white people. There is a systemic racism. It's not what they tell you. It's towards white people. They systemically hate you.
Definition in law: people of color. Do you know what single group that excludes? Indians? No. Africans? No. Russian? No. People of color literally means not white. So we'll put forward people of color in promotion. We'll put forward people of color in academics, promotion, this, that, or the other. Not white people. We are the outgroup. For a really good book to the listener, Age of Entitlement by Christopher Caldwell. A lot of this, at least in America, stems from the Civil Rights Act that went from, it really literally put color awareness into law. That you can't discriminate, that you can't take these categories, and that white people especially have this different responsibility. This has been in law since the 60s, in a sense, a new constitution somewhat, and it's wreaked havoc. Like, are racial relations better now than they were maybe in the 70s or the 80s? No, they aren't. Do they get along better? No, I would say racial tension is worse than ever. There's more hatred. There's more division. Fixing the problem is not by putting one party down and artificially propping up another one. True, actual harmony, it's certainly not that.
And even like, talking about also something that came to mind too, is like when Owen Strachan said God does not love a white church. I made another Instagram post in response to that, and I said God loves a white church, and people are like, this is racism, this is bad. It's like, can I not tell people that, like, if I can tell that God loves black people, it's still a truth for me to say God loves white people, for crying out loud. And for Owen to say God does not love a merely white church, well, that's chicanery going on right there. He's being a little nuanced. He's being woke 2.0. He's reading between the lines again. He's not being explicit, for crying out loud. He seems to be siding more with the left, punching more to the right now. Mm-hmm. Now he's just a little bit more positioned in the middle, right? Now the world can just, maybe agree with him just a little bit more. And again, this is what we have to watch out for. It shouldn't be a problem to say that God loves white people, just like it's not a problem, if God loves black people, for crying out loud. And it shouldn't be a problem for a black person to have some pride in his ethnicity. The same with white people. And the church cannot be saying, bringing in, this rhetoric where they make you feel bad for being white. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to feel bad of by de facto of the color of your skin. I'm not repenting. Christ didn't die for the color of my skin. He died for my sin. Right. It's not a skin problem. It's a sin problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even maybe we'll land the plane here. If you are white, it is good and right and proper to love your past, to love your heritage, and to celebrate it. No holds barred, no qualifications.
That's not kinism?
If you know this, but it is not. You can love being white. You can say, I'm proud. Now, I would probably drill down a little bit. White is kind of, like I said, this bucket of European. Most of us will have some type of distinct ancestry that's maybe more English or Italian or Irish or German. Myself, I've got a lot of German in me. And so I would say, like, for me specifically, I've made a conscious effort to understand German history, the history of the Germanic peoples better. And I've developed an affinity for it. I think I love some of the writers that have come out of it, the fierce German fighting spirit. Obviously not every single German fighting spirit, but a love for that people that eventually came over here to this land of America, to the new Europe, so to speak, to seek a better path, to seek prosperity. And so if you're white and you trace back to Germany, or you trace back to England, or you trace back to Scots, and even your faith history too, so they're not just German, but they trace back and say, and my ancestors were Presbyterian, or my ancestors were Baptist. If they're Anabaptists, just leave that part out. My ancestors were this, my ancestors were that. Love that heritage, not just spiritual, the physical, love them both, and say, this is what God's made me. Like, I love my children more than the neighbor's kids. Do I hate the neighbor's children? No, I just love mine. I love my wife more than any other woman in the world. And that is good and right and proper. And you can love your history and your people and your ethnicity, not because you hate others, but because of what you belong to. And I would say that is actually a biblical category of natural affection, that God's made you that way. None of us are this blank slate that just arrive into the world with no attachment. We're born into a place. We're born into a people. We're born into parents. We're born into a history. There are so many ancestors that came before you to get you to where you are now. And the fifth commandment commands you to honor your father and your mother. And of course, by extension, your grandparents and your great-grandparents. And they have sin and they have failures, yes, but you should love the good that they brought to you. Their cultures, their values, their heritage, their history, the strong and noble parts about them. Love it. It's good. And if they're white, all the more. Love it. You have done nothing wrong. In fact, I would say you've honored God by honoring your parents, honoring what they gave to you, and then take it through grace. Grace perfects nature, and work to be sanctified, work to continue your line, and work to honor God as a German, as an African American, as a Russian, as an Asian.
And for the people who would get mad at